Am I too paranoid? I've been asked that question on a few comments. Sometimes in emails or on chats, some people just think I take my privacy a little bit too seriously. I learned that the website slant.co has a list of top Linux YouTubers, and I was on that list. The post lists positives and negatives, and my top comment for the negative is that sometimes I blow up, referring, of course, to my famous fire screen, where I yell like a raving lunatic into the camera. Why do I do that? Simply because my fans like it. But I liked the other comment better. Too paranoid. His paranoid opinions are presented without well enough support. This tells me that while I have a lot of support of that on my channel, and we do see exploits of it every Friday night in the news, I have not done a good enough job of letting the viewers know why I take such a stand. For that, I apologize. Please forgive me. And this video can be used to tell why I take such a stand. Is my paranoia a condition, too far, or is it an alarm for a coming world where we have lost our most precious asset? NBC News recently released an article titled "Online Privacy Fears Are Real." The article describes that the online business is awash with conflicting goals. Businesses want to know as much as they can about you, while consumers want to share as little as possible. Well, at least that's what I would hope. But it further is complicated by criminals who want to break in and steal our data. Rick Jackson, a privacy advocate and former marketer, tells us that more people are tracking us than we realize. As an example, he tells us that the top pharmaceutical companies all track everything we do on the internet with the help of tracking scripts, which can be blocked, by the way. But then they share notes with each other, each helping to strengthen their position to target advertising to us better, for now. But that is not the end of the discussion, rather the beginning, as we are finding that so many databases contain so much information about us. Some of the data is publicly available, but much of it leaks out onto the dark web through data breaches. And those breaches are for companies we have never heard of, never done business with, and had no idea that they had any of our data to begin with. According to WebFX, over 4,000 companies exist with no other business model than slurping up data from online trackers, phone apps, Shoppers Club cards, credit cards. They contain nearly 80% of all email addresses, linked to the names, addresses, and even know products, brands, and stores we shop in, and the time we usually do our grocery shopping. Each record contains between 1,500 and 3,000 data points. So what is the big deal anyway if they're just using that data to target us for ads? That's not a big deal. Well, I disagree, but I will give you that point for now, as I want to discuss the bigger issue rather than chase that rabbit down right now. I am concerned with the bigger picture. The fact that this data can be used to track you down in a world that seems to be becoming unhinged more and more every single day. So let's look to these other examples. The most famous and enduring case is when Target sent certain advertisements to a teenage girl. Now, I know what you're thinking. I thought you weren't going to be talking about the ads. Well, I'm not. It was the juncture of information. These specific ads were about pregnancy, and they were targeting her with a specific advertising because the things she attached to her Target account suggested she had a high probability of being pregnant. They knew from her specific data that she, specifically, was pregnant. She got the ads for baby products, while the neighbor received car waxing coupons. So that means somebody at the company, if they desired, could look up specifically pregnant women and could get the name and the address. If that data is available to a mailer, it is available to some people at the company and to hackers who'd gained access to that data. But this data is protected, one may argue. It is not protected enough. I used to work for a software sales company of K through college age education software, and even I, as a work-at-home contractor, could log into the data and see the actual grades of K through 12 students anywhere in the country. Of course, let's not forget the recent Capital One breach. 106 million records were stolen by an employee of the cloud service where the records were stored. Our next reason for my concern on all this data collection involved neither a hacker nor a rogue employee, but rather it was instituted by a government authority. King County in Washington State sent out 40,000 letters to alleged pet owners telling them they had to register their pet with the county or face a fine. The county responded by saying this is not King County going and grabbing this data. You know, Big Brother is watching what you buy at the grocery store. But it was third-party doctrine. The company collects the data and the government uses it for their own purposes. Of course, the store where the data came from says they do not sell such data, and the county says they received the data from a marketing firm which obtained the data from the anonymized data from the store, but it was easy to figure out who was who. The bottom line of this case is that the government, either directly or via proxy, was able to figure out exactly who was using shoppers' card data to buy what type of products. What if they want to start using such data to look for over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, tobacco products, or something even more evil, like meat? What will make people question the use of these cards? What will cause us to be concerned that the government knows what we buy at the store if it so chooses? But sometimes the government is not the biggest concern. Big data collects and stores so much data, as we have seen, but it is not just collecting data from online sources. Bloomberg reported a deal between Google and MasterCard to give credit card data to Google as part of its broader attempt to dominate the ad market. The data will allow Google and its ad buyers to determine if a person who saw an advertisement on Google later went on to purchase the product either online or offline. While they say the data is anonymized, we know such data can be easily reverse engineered. We also know that the data can be viewed from within the dashboard of the Google user and that the users can opt out of this data. Did you know you could opt out? Do you know how? Speaking of data collection, Google also tracks what you buy online and offline if you happen to be using Gmail and have receipts sent to your address. If you have purchased something at Best Buy or Lowe's recently, you may have been asked if you want your receipt emailed to you. The purpose is supposed to be saving on paper or customer convenience, but every time you are convenienced, your data is probably being used. CNBC released an article in May of 2019 about the data collection by Google. They report that Google has been saving records of your purchases for years. While Sundar Pichai is correct, you can technically turn this collection off. It is difficult to do so, and most users do not even know Google is collecting such data to remove it. The biggest problem we have set here is the possible future use of data. Being targeted in advertising is not good, but I am not concerned with that at present. I am concerned with the fact that so much data is out there and there is presently no good way to deal with it. There is no way to tell all companies, you can't have my data. There's no telling if these companies will properly secure it from hackers or from rogue employees. Of a deeper concern is we have only one election cycle from a tyrant entering office and forcing the companies to give that data, for whatever reason, to the government. This is presently required in China. We must not fall into the trap of thinking it cannot happen here. It will, and the more we ignore the privacy issues, the faster tyranny will be forced upon us. I leave you with a choice, and we have two options at this juncture. We can simply declare that there is no privacy and continue on, consuming without thought or consequence. We can take the easy path, that without resistance. Remember, before we start down that path, that the great C.S. Lewis wrote, "The safest road to hell is the gradual one, the gentle slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, without signposts." The easy path leads to a place we do not want to be. Or we can do something different, something to take a stand. We will not talk about exactly what we need to do right now, but just examine your life, your entertainment, your pleasures. Are you allowing convenience to suck you into the good life, or are you taking specific actions to safeguard as much of your private life as you can? Are you using operating systems that collect less data? Are you skipping the credit card and using cash? Are you sending your purchase receipts to Google or using a shopper card? Ask yourself what you can start doing differently today.